this very, very special edition of Off the Cuff, one to cherish, because our guest today is none else than His Holiness the Dalai Lama, the man blessed with so much wisdom that he can bless the entire humanity with it. But even more than that, for people like me who don't have much intellect, Your Holiness, a man blessed with a smile that can light up the most dark of places. So we are so privileged to have you with us, Your Holiness.
Thank you.
Welcome to OTC. So Holiness, let me start with a simpleton's question. You came to India 68 years ago.
No,
58 years ago. 58 years ago. 58 years ago. My math was always poor. 58 years ago. In 58 years, we have seen in India and elsewhere, most institutions, people, minds with stature decline. It's a very messy world. It's a very messy country, India. It's very messy. Messy, troublesome, troubled. It's also very troubled where you came from. How do you keep your sanity, and how do you make sure that your stature spiritually, intellectually, morally has grown and not declined? You are now the rock star of spirituality and moral authority in the world.
I think basically I'm a student of Nalanda tradition, so we emphasize more our intelligence rather than faith. So therefore, I think everybody, if we utilize our sort of ability of the intelligence, then firstly, any problem, you see look at that problem not closely, from distance. And also any problem, not something independent or absolute, due to many other factors. So keep in your mind open and try to see the different sort of elements or becomes the causes of that problem. Then your sort of frustration automatically reduce. So look, I think even you see very, very sort of the sad, tragic thing. If you look from a wider perspective, that tragic thing might create some positive things. So keeping in our mind all these sort of option or possibility, then the anxiety or unbearable feeling, then much reduced. If you look the problem closely, you see only from one aspect, one dimension, then you see it appears something very big and unbearable. But same problem, look from wider perspective, then our emotion might get some different thing. That I usually do.
So look for the big picture.
That's right.
Not one minor, not one narrow focus point.
And then, like Tibetan problem. Yes, it's very serious, very sad. But looking from the global level, one of the problem, in some cases even worse. So that usually makes differences, your emotional feeling.
So, Holiness, look at the state of the world today, even if you look at the big picture, the entire world seems to be in turmoil. Democracy is stepping back. Dictatorial tendencies are rising all over the world. So, in today's world, even the big picture may not give us much comfort. How do you deal with that? If you look at America, Russia, China, India, Turkey, Israel, just around the world.
My fundamental sort of view, world belongs to humanity. And each nation actually belongs to the people, not a few individual leaders or like that. So, I believe people, I have faith. Human being, if our basic nature was or was more alive, I believe human nature is more compassionate and sensible. So I believe, you see, people. Then leader, come, go, come and go. People always remain. In this case, you need more patience. Or something happen, something happen, oh, shout. Oh. Something good things happen, sort of uber sort of joy. Little negative things happen. That's not good. You see, we must look from wider perspective and understandable. Among the 7 billion human beings, there are some sort of strange people. There. That's quite certain. I am Buddhist monk, follower of Shakyamuni Buddha. Among during his life, some of his sort of own follower and some even his sort of relative, little bit too much naughty. So you cannot expect human being. I mean, today, world level, something perfect. Oh, that's difficult. There's some problem here and there, but not permanent. Basic human nature is good. And I think a majority of the people on this planet, I think, nice. I think the basic nature, nobody wants to create trouble. But emotion sometimes, you see, creates a lot of sort of unrest here. Then, as a sort of expression of that restless mind, some sort of a negative word and also negative action. But these not sort of entire 7 billion human beings. I think not Hazuta. Not the way of doing or thinking entire sentient being. Entire 7 billion human beings. So I always look wider perspective. Then there is more reason be optimistic, hopeful, rather than pessimistic. Few individuals, yes, sometimes you see they speak or doing senselessly, without use properly about our common sense. And that also possible. Over 3,000 years, 4,000 years, such things always happen. But overall, I think entire humanity is negative. Then the population growth will not take place. Still, humanity, rule of compassion, rule of affection, very strong. Therefore, our population increasing. And also the people taking care, the sick people, old people. As a result, now among our population, more and more old people the number of old people increasing.
So, Your Holiness, in this situation, the leader of the world's most powerful country, and I ask you this also as an honored guest of India, and in a way, the brand ambassador for refugees all over the world. When the leader of the most powerful country in the world starts banning entry for refugees, how do you deal with it?
That's quite a complicated sort of event. I think many people already expressed their view. So not necessarily to say my view. Pick up.
No, your advice, not view.
I think you are referring the American president.
Yes, sir.
So I thought during election, you see, use maximum way about the freedom of expression. So then once you see take responsibility, then logically be more realistic. That's my sort of feeling. But last few days, you see the new president's sort of the action, more and more people now, they have sort of different view, or including some criticisms. So my own sort of position is wait and see.
And what is your advice to President Trump? I know you will meet him soon, but when you meet him, what will your advice be on this? Will you tell him that he is in a hurry?
That I don't know. I usually, you see, without any note, without any preparation, you see, public talk or meeting some individual, I just, you see, meet and judge the atmosphere. Then accordingly, I talk. Nothing prepared. So, when you see President, Trump, isn't it?
Trump, yes.
You see, have an opportunity meeting, then I will judge the atmosphere and his sort of famous sort of hair, like that. Then you see his like that or something like that. So then we'll judge the atmosphere and then accordingly I express my view. So I have nothing to say, something you see, already you see, if when I sort of have the opportunity meeting him, and I must say this, I must say that. No, nothing. That's what I usually do. I never take note.
That I know.
Oh, be frank, open, sincere. That's important.
I mean, you also remember the conversation we had 10 years back in Dharamshala.
Right.
And asked me for the state of my head.
More shining.
More shining than before, yes.
So that's because of shining.
Not necessarily from wisdom.
From wisdom.
Not
Getting older, more wisdom.
more wisdom. So, Holiness, wisdom. Even the discourses you've been holding last few days have been about discovering old Indian wisdom. And you call India your guru, and now Buddhists, and now Tibetans have become India's gurus. So how do you get wisdom from Indian tradition while keeping it secular?
That's the important matter. As you mentioned, when I first came as a refugee, of 56 I came, Buddha Jainist liberation. Firstly, short, and secondly, a lot of more or less official functions. So the knowledge, depth, not much. And then, after 59, came to India as a refugee, and Pandit Nehru, immense helpful. and Rajendra Prasad. Wonderful. And the Rajaji also, like that. So then I think then mid-70s, my first visit to Europe, and seeing those nations much industrialized and highly sort of developed, material sort of thing. And their life, materialistic life, way of life. So when we met individual, a few moments, you see, we greeting some nice things. Then when we become known each other more closer, there are a lot of complaint, too much stress, too much worry. Then meantime, I also you see, start serious discussion with scientists. So then gradually, you see, many scientists, you see, really showing interest about you see, our knowledge about our human emotions and how to tackle emotion. In these fields, many scientists really showing genuine interest. Mainly see 4 fields: cosmology, neurobiology, and physics, especially quantum physics, then psychology. In these 4 fields, after 30 years of serious discussion with scientists, it became clear to us from their knowledge about cosmology and the neurobiology, these things. The physics, quantum physics, the essence we already know, because ancient Indian sort of philosophy, particularly Nagarjuna's philosophy, or Arya Asanga Busubandhu's sort of philosophy, that is mind-only sort of school of thought. And the Madhyamika philosophy, particularly Nagarjuna's, nothing independently exists. So these, so we found, you see, the quantum physics, they say these external thing does not exist objectively. So this, we already know these things. Then the psychology, many scientists now really find useful information from our knowledge, from our discussions. Then I realized all our knowledge come from India. That's the reason I usually call Indian traditionally our guru. So therefore, I felt, India's ancient knowledge, these things, not only ancient one, but also very relevant to today's world. Science last, I think, about 2 centuries or I think one or 2 centuries, particularly the last sort of century, much developed. But mostly external thing. Scientists, you see, they not much pay attention about the scientists themselves and mind, emotion. Some scientists really, I would say, the great scientist, but as a human being, a lot of sort of, worry, like that. So therefore, the Indian tradition, firstly, fuller knowledge about human emotions, human mind. Then with fuller knowledge about emotion, then there are also, you see, different method to deal with these emotions. So then I felt, ancient Indian sort of knowledge is something could be very, very useful on this planet. So therefore, now look, India, traditionally you are so much sort of knowledge, these things. But modern Indian, neglected.
Neglected.
So modern Indian, I think, rushing to build materialistic society. So that I think one sort of the result is too much thinking about money, 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 money. So a lot of corruptions. So people very much complain about that, but then the complaint not sufficient. We must go deeper level. What's the causes? So the moral ethics, self-discipline, honest, truthful. You see, these, if we emphasize these principles, then these telling lie, cheating, corruption, bully, these automatically reduce. Just the criticism, not sufficient. So therefore, I felt, India's ancient knowledge is something very useful. So therefore, within the country, now I really gladly speak. Now among the youth, not necessarily your generation.
Mine is young generation, Your Holiness.
Or the audience, some old people.
Youthful people like me.
Youth people without hair.
Yeah.
So I think more and more Indian sensible Indian who have the sensible sort of thinking, more and more now really showing or begin to realize your own traditional richness about these, about this matter. So I feel India can can have opportunity to combine modern thing, modern technology, modernity, combined with ancient Indian knowledge about inner world. So then, I think this country, not only material sort of prosperity, but also, you see, peaceful mind. You already have, because of, you see, 1,000-year-old India's tradition, the religious harmony, connected with concept of ahimsa. And also, I think the concept of secular. Some of my Indian friends, you see, told me, see, according to Indian sort of understanding, secular is not only respect all religion, but also respect non-believer.
Right.
This, I think, great, very relevant to today's world. Today, I think out of 7 billion human beings, over 1 billion non-believer.
Yes, sir. Holiness, our last cabinet, Manmohan Singh's cabinet, 8 ministers took their oath by solemnly affirming, not in the name of God, including Mr. Chidambaram, Mr. Sharad Pawar, Mr. A.K. Antony, all non-believers.
So that's good. So therefore, the concept, that kind of sort of secular concept, is very relevant in today's world. And we need special effort to promote our inner value. That must be secular basis. If we sort of promotion of these things, you see, depend on religious faith, then firstly, about 1 billion non-believer, they are then outside. Then among the believer also, now clearly some problem, you see, created by believer. Actually not genuine believer, but suppose you see they belong this religion, that religion. But among these, some troublemaker also there. So this clearly shows the lack of conviction about the basic teaching of their own tradition. All major world religious tradition, all carry message of love, of forgiveness, tolerance. And I think they say that according to theistic religion, the entire 7 billion human beings are created by one God. That also, this very life created by God. So almost like our Father. That God created like our Father. What kind of Father? Infinite love. So that kind of sort of philosophical thinking, very, very helpful. Then, like Jainism and Buddhism, no concept of creator, but rather self-creation. Everything depends on your own action, own karma.
I may interrupt for a second. He explained this to me in the past also, that in Buddhism there is no God. It's a self-created concept. It's your karma.
Oh. I mean, the subtle mind,
Right.
no beginning, no end. So there is no sort of the room, the creator's work.
There is no God you can go and bribe.
I mean, the God, nobody, you see, can sort of, kasa, take it 6 to bribe.
Bribe.
Cannot. But you see, God, according to theistic religion, you see, God give us the freedom of free will. So we use free will wrong way.
I think before the microphone comes in the front row to Venu and Dinesh, let me ask you a follow-up question to this. Now, since you talked about how some people misinterpret religions and do not understand harmony and that everybody has a right to follow what they do, how do you, first of all, do you think that there is Islamophobia in today's world? And if so, why is it so and what can be done? The fear of Islam.
No, Islam, one of the important world religion. I think today, the number of follower of Catholic or Christian around, I think, 1 billion. According to some people say that. Then Muslim, the follower of the Muhammad and so follower of Quran, around 1 billion. And I found many Muslim very sensible. For example, in Lhasa, last 400 years, Muslim community there.
Hassan is where you have your big center.
Yes,
in Karnataka, yes.
The Tibetan sort of
Tibetan
capital.
center, yes.
Capital.
Right.
Since 5th Dalai Lama, some Muslim community there. So actually, the Tibetan government provided land for their construction of mosque. So last few years, few centuries, I think the some kind of secular sort of principle we practice, we follow. So in any way, my point is, then eventually, I think a few hundred, I think around 1,000 Muslim population there. No story of quarrel by these Muslims. Very peaceful.
So why is there...
So that is one example. People or Muslim who sincerely sort of practice, seriously practice, there is the same effect like Buddha's teaching. One my sort of friend, one Muslim, he told me genuine Muslim must extend love towards entire creature of Allah. So we Buddhists say entire sentient being. So entire sort of world created by Allah. Similarly, Christian, entire sort of world created by God. So I think the very purpose, the thinking, all created by infinite love, God. I think aiming people should be more compassionate, more sensible human being. But then, among the Buddhists also, there are some mischievous people there. So on media, some mischievous things come, then become the headlines.
Holiness, you are also blaming the media.
No. No, media have great sort of important role. Media is, I think, one important factor to educate people. So the presentation about reality, I think, more balanced way. Sometimes for readers, more sensational way, news, people showing more sort of interest or something. I have some reason. So last several years, whenever I give talk, and after that, I always take questions and some discussion. So many occasions, you see, people ask me, oh, basic human nature is negative. So future of humanity rather sort of what called doomed. Doomed.
Doomed.
Oh, doomed. Then I always say, no, basic human nature is positive. If basic human nature is negative, then as we already mentioned, you see, we no need any concern about too much population.
How would so many babies be produced? That's
yes.
what he's saying. If basic human nature was negative and hateful, why would human population keep on growing?
And taking
Very
care.
good logic.
Taking care. You see the sick people and also taking care
of old
people. So these things, and now most important is scientific finding. They say, firstly, constant anger, very bad for our health. Other hand, more compassionate feeling, very good for create healthy body. So this basic sort of this sort of body goes very well with peaceful mind, not agitated mind. So then they say constant fear, constant anger, hatred actually eating our immune system. Then recent years, some occasion, meeting with scientists, then some scientists say basic human nature is more compassionate. When I heard that, I felt, oh, now this is really our hope. Since basic human nature is something negative, anger, then no hope. Basic human nature is compassionate, so there is real hope. Now problem, we, because of our existing education system, only talk about material value, not much talking about our inner value. So this brain, once we went through modern education, this brain focusing external thing. So that's a mistake. Basic nature is more compassionate. Now human intelligence must combine with that through analyze or compassion is good for oneself, good for family, good for community, ultimately good for world. And the seed of compassion from birth we already equipped. Now analyze, what is the value of anger? What is the value of compassion? Analyze on the basis of scientific finding and use our common sense. That I think education, you see, should have. Therefore, education have great role to supporting, to promote our basic nature of compassion. So therefore, I often used to express, whether in India, whether in Europe or America, now education's field, we must include some education about our inner value.
We have too much
Strictly, secular way.
We have too much engineering in education. In education, we have too much engineering and too much material sciences.
Oh, material science.
Material
The whole sort of education, modern education system, you see, seems oriented about material value. And through that way, the generation, I think these audience, and I think including you, I think whole generation, through that kind of education, so you create materialistic culture, materialistic life. Then when we develop interest about inner value, we totally rely on religion.
Right.
The religion is sometimes narrowing our
becomes a shortcut. It becomes a shortcut. You go to a temple, you pray, you give some money.
I think India's tradition, the plural of religions.
Yes.
India, over 3,000 years, you see, there are many religions there, many philosophies there. So every Indian, you see, knows there are many religions. So here, concept of one religion, one truth, and concept of several religions, several truth. These two, contradictory or separate. But in terms of one individual, the concept of one truth, one religion is relevant.
Right.
That helps to keep your single-pointed faith.
But you can't impose it on others.
Then, in the terms of society, that cannot go.
Right.
So, in the terms of society, we need India's 1,000-year-old tradition, several truth, several religions.
Venu?
Your Holiness, Shekhar referred to this. Would you say...
Venu is a diplomat, but in Delhi, no diplomatic immunity.
Is there a God or is there no God? Is prayer important? Has faith no role? Is it all only the intellect?
Karsa,
Faith.
Faith.
Is there God or there is no God? Simple question.
That's according Jainism, Buddhism, and Sankhyaism. No God, no creator. God such as creator. But we can call Buddha as a God, okay. And Mahavira as a God, okay. But God and such creator, these three, no concept of creator, rather self-creation. The rest of the world religion, all, you see, different sort of, or say the concept or different way, but essentially all except creator. I think many Indian sort of tradition, ultimately there is creator, but at the same time, life after life. So, role of karma also there.
Karma. Dinesh?
His Holiness, it's a great opportunity to be in conversation with you. You mentioned about science. India is all about knowledge, which is science. I'm referring to Upanishads and Vedas. For thousands of years, thousands of rishis, who are perhaps PhD scholars, have worked scientifically on Upanishad and Vedas. Vedas have no author. What I'm coming to is, India is more spiritual knowledge than religion. That's why it has sustained. Would the Western concept of science and the Indian concept of spirituality merge at any point?
That I don't know. I think, according to your sort of explanation, it seems, yes, spirituality, not something strict to sort of faith, but rather, I think, training of mind, then okay. Like Jainism and Buddhism, you see, we emphasize the training of mind. Now, we have both constructive emotion, destructive emotion. And through awareness, constructive emotion is good. So, we have to sort of increase that. The negative, try to reduce, not through prayer, not through single-pointed meditation, but rather vipassana, analyze. So that's a scientific way. So therefore, now last over 30 years, you see, we firstly, out of my own curiosity, I start discuss with modern scientists. At that time, some old Tibetan scholars, a little bit sort of cautious. And then gradually, it became very clear. It is mutual benefit. So scientists and we Buddhists also. So then we start this kind of science lesson. We introduce in our bigger monastic institution, mainly in South India. Now they also, you see, now created the science class. So people, many monk students now study science. So therefore, you see, some scholar from the West, some say Buddhism is not a religion, but a science of mind. It's quite true. So therefore, I think Indian understanding spirituality is vast, training of mind. Religion, a little bit sort of based on faith.
And no scriptures contain all the answers. You have to keep looking for answers through science and analysis.
Oh yes, I think, yes. Although you see, like Buddhism or Jainism, you see, they also, you see, explain about ultimate truth, ultimate reality, or conventional reality. At the same time, in order to understand deeper way, I think scientific findings, scientific research, also very helpful.
Very helpful.
I already mentioned like quantum physics. Very useful, very helpful.
We have a young questioner in the back.
Hi, I'm a journalist at the Financial Times, and I wanted to know if you think India's religious tolerance and secularism has improved under the current government, and why or why not?
Kasa? Well, what is the main point question?
Has India's religious tolerance improved or deteriorated? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, you were talking about India's emphasis on secularism, and I just want to know if you think it's got better in the last two.
Again, see, my view is India means over 1 billion Indian population. So overall, I think these sort of tradition, 1,000 years old, So we'll continue. Some individual may have so different views and as a result may express a little bit different here and there. But overall, India, as I mentioned earlier, India belongs to Indian people, not a few politicians or leaders.
We'll take a question here, but Your Holiness, since you explain over and over again that in Jainism and Buddhism there is no concept of physical God, how do you respond when people call you a living God?
That's wrong. Sometimes I sort of telling people, people consider me the reincarnation of our Lokiteshvara. Then sometimes I'm telling, oh, if I'm true reincarnation of our Lokiteshvara, then gallbladder problem should not happen. So, because of the gallbladder, you know, then the final sort of refuge, final refuge in hospital. and Dr. Kasa, Dr.
Dr.
Chobe,
yes.
he removed to say my
His gallbladder, yes. Like that of half of Delhi's.
So one occasion, of course, Dr. Chobe we become a very, very close friend. So one occasion, I teased him, I want to replant or something.
Replant his gallbladder.
Oh, so he said, oh, easily can do. So like that. So therefore, I think at the same time, I can say the previous life sort of, certain sort of, what's the merit, that I feel there.
Previous birth.
Oh,
Yes.
you see, some sort of subject, such as shunyata subject. For me, very easy. Some top scholars, they find rather difficult. So that means my previous lives, some familiar. So these subjects, that I feel. So therefore, and also through dreaming, through dream, sometimes some vague memory about past life. One occasion, I was great scholar of one Indian master. So originally, I'm Indian.
Always. We are quite happy to.
That, of course, you see, no question. You see, we are a student of Nalanda master. All these, by knowledge, not only me, many Tibetan scholars, their knowledge, all come from Nalanda. 8th century, the Tibetan emperor already have, since 7th century, very close as a link with Chinese emperor through marriage. And then, sometimes I jokingly use expressing, or Tibetan, ancient Tibetans, they are sort of quite, I say, practical. When they look as a food, or Chinese food, very good variety. So they prefer Chinese food. And also, I think the beautiful girl, the Chinese princess, good. So they married Chinese princess, not the Indian princess. Then cloth, Mongol cloth. Mongolia, very cold climate.
Very cold climate,
Oh,
yes.
so they find Mongol sort of dress as something suitable. So many Tibetan officials sort of dress is Mongol type. Then religion is concerned, they found India is the best, the ultimate source. So, in spite close relation with Chinese emperor, I think first introducer of Buddhism in Tibet, I think Chinese emperor. Through their marriage, you see, they sort of create impression among Tibetan Buddhism like that. But then 8th century, the Tibetan emperor, Trisung Tezhen, he himself, I think, his mother, I think Chinese, but then, you see, he prefer, as far as Buddhism is concerned, he want to bring directly from India. So then he extended invitation. At that time, 8th century, the top, I think the topmost sort of scholar of Nalanda at that time, Shekhar, great scholar and a great logician. So he invited, his age already, according to Indian sort of historian, they say already 70, mid-70s, 74, 75. So imagine, one top scholar of Nalanda go to Tibet, such age, not easy. But then, you see, Shekhar accepted that invitation, then went to Tibet, and remaining his life spent in Tibet. So now he, the real sort of teacher who come to Tibet, he teaches us according to his own sort of style, philosophy, logic. So over 1,000 years, we, I think, a sincere student of that master. So we kept knowledge about philosophy, about logic. So now, I think, as a matter of fact, I think a Tibetan Buddhist tradition is most closest to Nalanda tradition. Although Chinese Buddhist tradition also come from Nalanda, but not much stress, rigorous study. We, in order to become scholar, at least 20, 30 years rigorous study. So all these Nalanda masters of text, many Tibetan scholars, they memorize. So they know very well. So on this planet, I think around 1 billion Buddhists, I think only Tibetan sort of have the fuller knowledge about these Nalanda masters of text or writing.
His Holiness, first and foremost, it's a great honor to be in your presence.
Please introduce yourself.
My name is Tanveer Batra, and my question to you is that you have been a refugee, and nowadays, if you see, there's so many kids who are refugees who've been made to fled their houses and their homes, and they've been raised in hate and turmoil. So how would you preach compassion to them?
You're talking about Middle East, right?
Middle East, yes.
Kasa, Sajo. No? Oh, when you see large number of refugees towards Europe, and particularly Germany, the German chancellor, I think she used the word compassion.
Compassion.
Oh, I really sort of admire. I know her since many years. So at the beginning, I mean, since the beginning of these refugees, so I express, firstly, these refugees who really find difficulties, not only difficulties, but great risk in their own land. So there is no other choice except escape. So they should give, they should provide, European nations should provide shelter and facility. Meantime, keep in their mind, eventually they should return their own original place. So while they remain in Europe as a refugee, provide education facility to their children, and the younger people provide some training. Eventually, when the time comes, they return in their own home. They already equipped to rebuild their own country. So that right from beginning, I have that view. So I publicly expressed.
So is that your advice to President Trump also, who's blocking their entry into America?
Trump, I think, as I mentioned earlier, we have to wait. One day he says something, next day says something, and also a lot of sort of criticism within the American sort of
American Congress?
Congress or the leadership, or
Leadership, yes.
more sort of elite people, right?
Elites.
Like that. So I don't know. But you see, the attitude towards Muslim, I think 6 or 7 countries, these, although his motivation, I think maybe sincere to protect America, less threat. But such sort of movement or such policy, I think creates more hatred
Right.
among the Muslims.
I think that
So
deserves an applause.
that is the seed of more problem.
Right. So then Sudhanshu, and then to Varnaz there. And I know we have many questioners, and we are, yes.
Your Holiness, it's a pleasure to be here and honor. My name is Akhil Nath. You just said you're not God and you advise the whole world. You're going to meet President Trump, advise everyone. My question is, what do you do when you have a problem? Do you always find a solution yourself, or do you look for people around you to advise you? Or does it just come to you? Since you're not God, what is the solution to your problem, if you have one?
For example,
Can I add a question? Okay, you answer it, then I will ask.
for example, 1959, when things become very critical, I asked opinion not only officials, but also sweeper. I asked, sometimes the sweepers more frank, more honest. Officials sometimes. So I always ask different opinion from different people. Then also one sort of mysterious things. I also ask state oracle. That's mysterious things. Then I myself, you see, think, investigation. Then till final decision happen, my mind always is a lot of sort of anxiety like that. Then finally decide, then no anxiety, whether sort of, no matter what kind of problem, now we decide that way. So 17th March 1959, that day around noon, we finalize. Now we're going to leave Lhasa or Nobulinga. So then no matter what difficulties, we decide. Even if there's some risk of my own life, we decided. That I do.
Holiness.
So, consultation, take opinion, different suggestions from different people. Very useful.
Do you get angry sometimes? And
yes.
how often do you get angry?
And when I was young, quite often.
Quite often.
I usually is telling people, my mother almost never show anger. My father, quite short temper. So, my early part of my life, I follow my father's way. The later part of my life, I follow my mother.
So when was the last time you got really angry?
Now here, you see, one Buddha's teaching, there is no independent existence, and including yourself, I, self. Yes, self there. But if you investigate, nothing we can find. So that theory, that philosophical view, immense help to So to reduce the solid foundation of chimi jig nam do kasure. One my American friend, scientist, when we develop anger, the object which feel angry appears something very negative. But actually, 90% of that negativeness is mental projection. This exactly you see mentioned in Nagarjuna's writing. So that, you see, that mental exaggeration happened. You see, we believe existence as appears, something solid, something there. So once we understand no solid thing there, so that automatically reduces the basis of that mental exaggeration. So I practice that. Now, actually, I developed interest about that philosophical view now over, I think, 60 years. But more serious sort of thinking that, I think, last 20, 30 years. It really affects my emotions. So nowadays, I think anger and attachment, almost none.
Almost none.
Almost none.
So when was the last time you got angry?
I can't remember. little irritation that happened, but real anger is something.
So if you're
desire to hit or something, almost.
If you're irritated with me, don't tell them. But when was the last time you were irritated?
I can't remember. I can't remember. Occasionally,
Occasionally.
I think you should ask my sort of secretaries. Occasionally, I express my irritation. But just a few minutes, then gone. Nothing.
His Holiness, my name is Sudhanshu Mittal. There is an increase of tensions, I would say, be it across the globe, be it the clash of civilizations, be it various kind of conflicts which we are witnessing. And I personally feel it does threaten international peace. What is it that you would think could be a very good mechanism for conflict resolution? I personally believe that the moral authority of individuals, if collectively manifested, could bring in a lot more sense into people who are at the helm of affairs, rather than, a very hostile environment created against the action of individuals. So one solution could be that people like you and some others from various faiths, who in the eyes of people have moral authority, they could come down together and address these issues of, say, conflict of civilizations. How do you react to that?
Karsa. Yes, some extent, yes. Now, with this connection, as far as sort of conflict in the name of religion, I think India can be important role, because India, I think all major world religious traditions live together. Occasionally some problem here and there, but basically, as I mentioned earlier, I think really, the example of rest of the world, all major religious traditions can live together. And in some cases, mutual respect, mutual learning. So, since many years, I suggesting to Government of India, I think India should organize international religious conference. Then leaders of various different religious traditions, I think once the Indian government extend invitation, I think most of these, including the Muslim leader, I think will come. Then not only leaders, I think leaders come and the open ceremony or something, some nice word. Then the secondary level of religious or leader come, spend few days and serious discussion. And then finally, you see, Government of India should arrange Orsede Kasa Ka should sort of arrange some kind of pilgrimage. 1956, Government of India is arranged the pilgrims to many Buddhist sites and special train arrange and go there. Like that, I think special arrangement, so that sort of delegation and should have pilgrimage to Muslims, sort of the holy places, and then the Buddhist places, Hindu places, and Christian, and then the Golden Golden Temple, like that. All major religious sort of important sort of place and visit. That really get, I think, some deeper message or different religious tradition can live together.
Varnaz, and before Varnaz asks a question,
so India, I think, can take important role. So, conflict in the name of religion. Then basically, India's sort of 1,000-year-old tradition, secular and religious harmony, you see, these and ahimsa, karuna, I think these eventually, I think really can be sort of the one factor to build inner peace, harmony.
Varnaz.
Hello. Thank you for being here with us today. I'm here. My name is Varnaz. My question to you is, since you've clearly said that there is no God, yes, I would like to know what your viewpoint is on the role of consciousness and whether it is responsible for creating this universe, number one, and whether we live in a real or virtual world according to the creation of consciousness.
Karsa. I think whether there is God or not, my individual level, I cannot decide. But I am Buddhist. I follow Buddhist teaching, and particularly the Nalanda masters of teaching. So, like Parmanavatika Karika, and also 100 verses, 400 verses, many texts, you see, critical view about concept of creator. That's all. I think whether there is creator or not, nobody knows. So that is up to individual. To some people, the concept of creator is very, very helpful.
So you can decide there is a creator, he is not arguing with you. That's what he's saying.
So you see, for that person, the concept of creator, idea of creator, is very useful, very helpful. So to that person, you keep that faith.
Holiness, we saw recently.
So now here, I want to explain. Jainism, Buddhism, and the Sankhyaism, not very clear. The Buddhism, quite clear. The consciousness, sensory level consciousness, depend on our organs. Then mental level consciousness, which during sort of dreaming, sleeping, organs no longer function, but mental level. Dream time also, you see, the sensorial no longer function. Then deep sleep, even deeper consciousness. The now scientists also now say the movement about our brain. The scientists can say now this person dreaming and start movement of because eyelid. So then the scientists say now without dream, deep sleep, judging from the movement of brain. Now at the time of faint, deeper level of consciousness there. Then most subtle level of consciousness is at the moment of dying, moment of death. Last now 50 years, at least I think, as we recorded, I think 30, 40 cases after death. The medical, also the medical people check that person dead. Heart beating stop. No blood circulation to brain. Then within a short period, brain dead. Brain dead. So clinically dead. But that person's physical remain very fresh. Next 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Some cases before death, physical, because of old age and also illness, very weak. After death, the physical become much more fresh. Actually, it happened. So now, some scientists, showing interest. So we already sort of carry some sort of project to investigate about that. So now, the scientists, so far, you see, no explanation. But we, Buddhists, at that time, the innermost subtle mind still within the body. So that subtle mind also momentarily changing. So any phenomena momentarily changing, there must be causes. So therefore, in the causes, the substantial cause and cooperative conditions, like this body, substantial cause is particle. That continuation of that sort of particle at the time of Big Bang, already there. Even before Big Bang, the substantial continuation of substantial cause of this body, already there. No beginning. Otherwise, you see the thing start without substantial cause or without cause. That at one time, without cause, it happened. Then today also, you see, anything without cause, all of a sudden can happen. No, there is certain rule. There's a nature law. So therefore, like consciousness also, you see, substantial cause. So then, that means previous sort of continuation of consciousness. So subtle mind, if we accept beginning, then that beginning consciousness without cause or different cause, that's illogical. That is the reason Buddhist explanation, there is no beginning of that subtle level of consciousness.
So, Holiness.
So that is the basis of the previous life or also and in the future life also, you see. So these like the the Chandrakirti's, no, Dharmakirti's text, Parmana Vartika Karika, detailed mentioning. So if you want to know more detail, then firstly study Sanskrit, then read Parmana Vartika Karika.
Holiness, we have your oldest fan in this
yes.
crowd, Raghurai. But before he asks you this question, let me ask you this. Xi Jinping recently in Davos, he made a pitch for global leadership for China. He spoke against protectionism, he spoke for free trade, he lectured the whole world. So obviously, he announced that China is now making a claim for global leadership. Do you think he and China are ready And what else do they need to do to be ready?
That's difficult to say, really difficult. Now, of course, the people from China as most populated nation and ancient nation, and generally speaking, cultured people. But their system is totalitarian, too much censorship. I usually is expressing the 1.3 billion of Chinese people have every right to know the reality. Once they know the reality, they also have the ability to judge. Therefore, censorship is immoral.
So first, censorship has to go.
Censorship, I think, should stop.
Should stop.
And let them know. Now, you see, a lot of Chinese tourists, and also, you see, many Chinese leaders' children study in America or some other country. So they already know what's the reality, what's the world. So it's the Chinese official sort of say, information, official information.
Information.
See, many of these people doesn't believe. So it's no use. In previous, unlike 60s and before that, then there's no other sources get information. Now today, a lot of sort of information. One example is I think about 2-3 years ago, so one Tibetan said, and when he aeroplane flying from Chengdu to Lhasa, Kongar, there are one Chinese officials, some officials, and some Chinese businessmen. So these two Chinese businessmen, Chinese officials, when they they talk, the official criticize Dalai Lama. Then the Chinese businessmen argue, no, I know Dalai Lama, I heard Dalai Lama sort of speech. So Dalai Lama not like that. So because they have this sort of
exposure
to access,
right,
the reality. So like that. So therefore, I think, firstly, I usually is telling censorship should
So for China
should stop. Then Chinese judiciary system should promote
independent
international sort of because of the juris or the standards. So I always, as I mentioned earlier, Chinese people, wonderful people. So ultimately, China belongs to Chinese people, not one party, not one individual.
So as long as they don't bring these freedoms, they don't have the moral authority for global leadership.
Eventually, I think China have the potential. But then these, I think leadership come, it's because of become leadership step by step, not just claim.
Not by announcing it. Right. Raghu?
Your Holiness,
I think we just have a couple of questions.
Your Holiness, I have to tell you my name. My name is His Holiness's child. Because you shower so much love and blessings on me, and that's been going on for almost 45 years now. Thank you so much. Now, this debate about God, I have never met God, but I have experienced spiritual powers through spiritual souls like you. And I'm sure I can say that without any hesitation that Christ, Buddha, Guru Nanak must have been like you. But the fact remains that in each religious belief, they have their own respective gods.
Right.
And in India, we have all the gods living here, luckily. And sometimes I do take blessings of Christ or Allah or Ram or Buddha, as and when I need, but I'm being clever for nothing, But the fact remains that there is some supreme energy that runs through these saintly people like you. Maybe you can't cure yourself, but we know that you've cured so many other people, including this man. So this supreme energy works through these people, and that's why they are called like gods. But the conflict which has started all over the world, for centuries it's going on, and only somebody of your stature, who's been revered and loved so deeply all over the world, should make it very specific about what God is today and what it can be. Because none of them, Christ, Allah, Ram, Krishna, all of them were in the form of human being. They came and they went away. And now you are here with us. So please clarify us cleanly and don't say that your belief is only here. Because you know the larger truth, because you are in touch with the supreme energy all the time. You have to give us a clean, clear answer, please.
I think it is quite logical if you use common sense. I think our naked eye and consciousness depend on this brain. There's limitation. We cannot say, we human beings cannot see, so does not exist. That we cannot say. So there are some sort of certain things beyond our perception. Right? So whatever you call God or Buddha or some other sort of name, but then I think we, as different people with combination of different culture, you see, we create certain sort of concepts, dedicate certain, designate, it's a certain thing. So long it worked, okay. But these, I think, the Buddha, I learned, you see, one way which Buddha sort of was teaching. Buddha sort of, the main philosophy is no independent self, anatma. But among his teaching, some teaching indicates there is separate being which carry this body and mind. So this actually, you see, totally sort of contradict Buddha's basic sort of message of anatma. So this, you see, Buddha give teaching according the audience or the mental disposition. So therefore, in Buddha's teaching, Chitta Mantra, mind-only school of thought, and the Madhyamika and some other sort of tradition, some other philosophical view, taught by Buddha, but contradictory philosophy. So it is necessary, different people with different culture, different climate, different way of life, some different mental disposition. So you see, these Buddha, you see, taught a different philosophy. So this, from this we can learn, and we can we can get sort of idea. Oh, different time, different location, like Arab, different sort of place. You see, naturally, the people who have different mental disposition, so it need different, the philosophy or different concept. So long, all concept, all these religious sort of concept, you see, the method to promote basic human value, that's love, that's compassion. So same goal, use, you see, different sort of method or different philosophical views. No problem. We should look the goal. So basically, there are some mysterious things, certainly there.
Your Holiness,
Nobody
they say,
can sort of claim
Your
we
Holiness,
know everything.
they
Or
say-
scientists, now modern scientists,
Raghu, if you can pass the microphone here.
genuine scientists, you see, they accept limitation.
Ji.
So like that.
But they say the biggest creation of man was that he invented God for himself. And that continues to carry on ever since. But the supreme energy is the one that is so magical through it. You, we get it. That's what I was trying to get at. Thank you.
Kajabsa, God Karza. I think that's quite true. I think there is some mysterious sort of things there. So some people say, give some different names.
And in Buddhism, you say vibrations, and in Buddhism, it's the vibrations and the karma.
Karma. Not only Buddhists, Hindus also.
Hindus also.
We are same.
Sir, I think we are really out of time. What you don't know is the storm that's brewing in my ear.
So
because,
first I bow my head to the Holy Soul, and I want to ask only one question.
Ma'am, we'll take
That
two
Buddhism
questions
said
together.
that Buddhism says that no woman can get nirvana like Samyak Sumbad. She cannot be. But Mahavira told that yes, even a man, a woman can get nirvana.
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 Yes.
But Buddhism says that a woman cannot be.
I think we are so short of
So
time.
this is a question hurting my mind and soul and
Ma'am, I
irritating
think
me
he's
a lot.
understood the question, if you let it be, because they really need this. He's being very compassionate with us. We know that he has to go, but we are holding him. But this hall is needed for a wedding.
I think now this is quite important.
Yes.
Now Pali tradition, the Changsha Ngene said Kasiri. Changsha Ngene. You see, according Weber Sheikh school of thought, before become Buddha, about at a certain period, you see, Buddhist Sattva, you see, because of make accumulation, special accumulation for Buddhas because of the certain quality. So during that period, the person should be male. It mentioned that. But generally, in Buddha Dharma, according to Buddha Dharma, no differences, male and female. One, you see, Buddha, you see, give equal right, bhikshu and bhikshuni. So I follow is a Buddha sort of teaching. In the, I think, at least the last several centuries in Tibet, nuns not study rigorously. Then about 40 years ago, I appeal that nuns also, you see, should study same way. So they start study rigorously. Now, last year in South India, I gave as a final doctorates to Kazirgo, to 20 nuns who now become top scholars. So
I think we are at the risk of losing our microphones. I think just last,
and some sort
I
of
think we can't, sir, if you
some sort of text.
If you can quickly ask the question.
Mentioned someone, you see, criticize or disrespect the female. That is one sort of infraction. So you see, no scripture mentioned if female complain to male, nothing mentioned that. Male complain, because male sort of criticize female, some sort of serious mistake.
I think
so like that. I think Buddha, I think really give us equal right.
I think that's a very good note to conclude this round of Off the Cuff on. And let me ask you all a question. You've listened to many wise men, many godmen, many realized masters, many people who in Bombay language would be called Ponchela people. But have you ever seen anybody like that sitting in the chair in front of you? And when somebody asks a question, say, I don't know. Because they have all the answers. Dinesh Trivedi asked a question, His Holiness said, I don't know. And I think that's what sets him apart from all the other wise men, and that's why he's truly a realized master. So please give him an applause. And thank you very much. I know that all of us wanted more time with him. We were blessed that we got this much time, and thank you very much.
I recall, you see, one story or instant where my first visit Europe and including England, one sort of function. Firstly, this is some talk. Then after that, some sort of reception. One Englishman approached to me. She expressed to me, oh, you mentioned, I don't know. So he really admired that. So then I thought, oh, those Englishmen, you see, they are reluctant to say, I don't know. So pretended they know everything. That's foolish.
And thank you very much. And thank you very much for watching this edition of Off the Cuff.